fine. Really?
Nothing about this is fine. What are those things?
It'll be okay. Everything is gonna be okay.
Welcome, everyone, to our very first episode of Terror Express with Orlando Rodriguez and Jason Bradford. And today we bring you Vanessa Ionta Wright. She's an incredible filmmaker whom I've had the pleasure and privilege of knowing and working with, and we want you to get to know her as well.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm looking forward to
see you
some
again, Vanessa.
Terror Express fun.
So I have my first question to you is rainy season. Based on your first film, based off of a short story written by Stephen King himself. And we know you collaborated with some big names, Mark Simon, who's a huge cinematographer in the industry, who's worked on some mega movies. David Irwin and Josh Oliver, more heavyweight names in the industry. And what was it like getting this first project of yours greenlit and actually approved by Stephen King himself, knowing that you're going to be able to make this with all these amazing people? What was your reaction to that?
I mean, it was equally exciting and terrifying all at once, because there's that thing of, oh, maybe it won't happen, or, you know, I don't know what the process is. I don't know if they take everybody. I don't know what they look at. So getting the acceptance of, you know, you can have the story and sign the agreement, mail us a dollar and go make a movie. And I had taken a huge chunk of time off from filmmaking. I, you know, had my two children and had stayed home with them and really wasn't doing anything outside of being a mom and a wife. So, you know, getting back in the saddle, so to speak, was nerve-wracking, but I had such an amazing and supportive cast and crew that, you know, I felt so lucky and honestly very safe. It kind of relaxed me a little bit because I knew they were going to be there to help me should I slip at any moment.
Are there any, besides Stephen King, what other film directors have inspired you in your past to become a director yourself?
So many for different reasons. I do have to say, though, the one that really like got me right in the gut to want to do this, or to realize that I could do this, actually was Quentin Tarantino. I was 16 and my mom took me to see a screening of Reservoir Dogs, and I had never seen anything like that before. And I didn't really know the term independent film. Like at the time, it was still kind of a new concept. I try and choose my language carefully because I mean, obviously indie film's been around forever, but it kind of wasn't in the mainstream and available, I guess. So to see that film and realize what this, you know, filmmaker had done and everything, I mean, I was just so blown away by it. And I remember after the movie looking at my mom and I was like, I want to do that. Like, that is badass filmmaking. That's what I want to do.
Every time Tarantino releases a new movie, it's always, that is badass filmmaking. He's constantly raising the bar and shattering it.
He's in a league of his own. And I know there are people out there that are probably rolling my eyes as they hear me, but like, I adore him. I just think he does great stuff. And I'm also, I absolutely love Martin Scorsese. I love his approach to storytelling. I think he is just an absolute legend. So yeah, those are probably my two go-to directors.
Tell us about your
Gotta stay
Renegade
hydrated.
Film Festival.
Oh yes, the Renegade Film Fest.
What inspired you to begin this film festival? What did it start out as, and what has it morphed into, and what can we expect next year?
Sure. So it was launched in 2017 as the Women in Horror Film Festival, and strictly to, I think, empower and shed light on women creatives in the film industry, and not just directors or actors. We really wanted to showcase a lot of top creative roles. Mm-hmm. And as you know, we moved forward with that, I started to really think about the industry and the shifts that were happening or needed to happen. And I also kind of realized that the model with which this fest was created initially, it was always meant to be inclusive, but it started to feel exclusive. Like, if you weren't a woman, you weren't welcome. Right. And that you had to be a woman to do X, Y, and Z. And that was never the goal. So I wanted to rebrand and really push that this is to be an inclusive event, and that we wanted to showcase all marginalized voices in film, not just women, and to be more inclusive of that. And we just had, I mean, it was such a big, like, oh, are people going to like it? Or are they not going to like it? Are we going to get backlash? Because, you know, I always get nasty emails from people.
Yeah, I love
stuff like that. And most of them I ignore, but it was a huge positive response. I think everybody really was like, this needed to happen. And the energy, we just had our first as the Renegade Fest, and it was by far the best yet.
Now, I hear you've made, was it top 50 in the country for film festivals? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Movie Maker magazine ranked for 2021, ranked the fest as one of the top 50 genre fests in the world.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
It's huge. You know, as a filmmaker and as a fan of horror films, you know, I really tried to design this in such a way that both fans and creators alike would enjoy it and would feel equal. I mean, I think the most beautiful thing about the fest is there's no ego there. I mean, we have celebrities, we've got indie filmmakers, we have students who are just starting out, and we have fans, and everyone's equal. And it's amazing.
Are you going to have more projects where the LGBT community is in one of your films?
Yeah, I mean, that's near and dear to my heart. You know, I think it's important that as storytellers, we try to remain as open as possible and be as inclusive as possible. I think that visibility matters greatly. You know, when we're watching these films, you want to see stories that you can relate to with characters that are like all of us, and we're all different. And so that needs to be, to me, I think, highlighted and put into, you know, more stories.
What do you love about the horror community, and what about that inspires you to make films based around that genre of film?
I mean, you know, I don't know. I've never really figured out the why. Why do I like watching these movies? Why do I like getting scared? Because and Jason, you probably know me a little bit better, but like I am afraid of everything. Like I startle easily. Like, please don't sneak up on me because I might slap you and it would be totally unintentional. I'm scared all the time. And I don't know. I don't know why I'm so drawn to that.
I think you may have on my personal experiences, you may have answered that question for me. Horror is such an emotional roller coaster ride. You don't get that with too many genres. Horror and comedy, which is probably why they're such a great marriage. You're either laughing your ass off or you're cowering behind your fingers or a blanket or someone's shoulder.
Well, you hit it right on the head. I think it's because it's an emotion, right? Mm-hmm. And there's something about experiencing that type of an emotion with people. Right. Like, there's a total difference between watching a horror movie at home, alone or with a friend, than being in a theater full of strangers and having this shared experience. Like, it almost like bonds you.
Sometimes even horror movies can be, unfortunately, real life, like that dark tunnel that you have to go through, and you don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah. Back the stairs.
As a kid, we had wooden floors, and in horror movies, you can hear like when something's approaching, like the creaking of the floor and whatnot. So when I was sleeping, if I heard some creaking on creaking floor, I would go ahead and put the covers over my head, and I wouldn't go ahead and get out of it until the sun came out the next day. So
don't investigate a strange noise.
Something that freaks me out are backless stairs. We just bought a house last year. When we came down and looked at the basement, the first thing I asked was, are the stairs backless? Because if they were, I probably wouldn't have bought the house. Those freak me out. Someone's going to grab your feet.
Because someone can get your Achilles.
Yes, some Henrietta thing is going to swallow your soul if you go down the basement at the wrong time. It's like, no, not happening. Not happening. No.
And I think the other side, as far as what draws me to make them, horror is the perfect genre to be able to, I think, like, deal with things that are going on in the world and kind of go to the places that other films and other genres don't or won't go to.
Right.
Because I think a lot of times, horror is an allegory for something, and I think it can be very cathartic. So, there's a lot to being able to tell stories within that genre that you really can't, I guess, in other.
It's funny that you say cathartic, because when I've had a long day at work, what do? I come home and I put on like Friday the 13th part 3. I'm very familiar with that. I know the characters. I don't have to watch it or pay attention to it to know what's going on. It's a familiar comfort. It's like comfort food. It's comfort food of a movie. Yeah. It relaxes you. It relaxes you. You see a girl get a harpoon shot in her eye. It's like, oh, this makes me want to sleep.
And see, with me, Jason, it's actually Scream. I get home, and if I open that closet, is there going to be someone in there with a big old knife ready to stab me in my chest? Right. And if they are, am I going to go ahead and run out the front door, or am I going to run up the stairs? So if you could cast a big name actor or actress, who would you go ahead and cast in one of your movies?
There are so many. I guess it depends on the movie. I mean, if I'm doing comedy, I would absolutely love to work with Melissa McCarthy. I think she is phenomenal, and I think she would be so much fun to work with.
Yeah, I love her.
Going straight forward with some like more dramatic thriller horror stuff, I would have to say Kathy Bates, Jessica Lange, who I'm just obsessed with.
Those are two.
Love her.
Yes.
And honestly, Amanda Wyss, we have been trying to work together for several years now. I've had several projects that, I keep trying to get going, and, we've just been talking. So fingers crossed, we'll get something happening.
I love Mandy. She's such a sweetheart.
Oh, yes.
Here's something I get to say that not too many people I know can say this. Woody Harrelson, actor Woody Harrelson,
Yeah.
and I have been kissed by the same woman. Not too many people can say that. There's one thing that I really am looking forward to with every interview that we do, and it's, have you ever watched James Lipton inside the actor's studio? At the end of every interview, he would go through and he would ask these questions, and he would get like a quick response from, well, like, what's your favorite cuss word? What will God say when you get to the gates? I want to do a kind of a horror version of that. So I have 8 quick questions here for you before we get to our very final question.
Okay.
So just answer off the top of your head, first thing that comes to mind.
This is going to be interesting. This is when my mind goes blank. Okay, we'll try.
First question. What is your favorite decade for horror films?
Oh, that's tough. I guess the 70s and the 80s.
Favorite horror film? First one that comes to mind. What's your favorite?
The Exorcist.
Favorite horror movie soundtrack?
Ooh. Oh. Ooh. There's so much. Oh God, can I name a couple?
Sure.
I loved the soundtrack from The Fog. I mean, some people just have really good like I feel like if you're watching a Rob Zombie movie, you're gonna get good music. Oh God, too hard. I don't know.
What's your favorite kill in a horror film?
Actually, one kill, because it was multiple kills all at once, that I really enjoyed when it came out was the beginning of Ghost Ship. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When the lion snaps and everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just remember like the captain's head slid off, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Biggest horror inspiration? Could be a person or a thing.
I feel like I'm kind of inspired a little bit by Hitchcock.
Last question is, do you believe in ghosts or supernatural phenomena?
Yes.
Okay, that will lead to my last question. Tell us about a true supernatural experience that you have had that sent chills down your spine or terrified you greatly.
I lived in a house in Billerica, Massachusetts when I was much, much younger. I was little. It's just outside of Boston. And every night I would kind of wake up in the middle of the night and go get in bed with my parents. Because again, I was so young. And every night I would walk out of my bedroom door, and down the hall, right outside the doorway of the kitchen, was the figure, I guess, of a man. It was like a shadowy figure that would just stand there with his arms like this, and he would go like this.
So is this a one-time thing, or was this a common occurrence?
It happened every night. And I never walked down the hall. I would just shake my head and I would go. And the thing, I guess, about it that gave me chills is that when I was older, I had asked my mother about it. And she said, yeah, I've seen him too. And I was like,
so did he,
so it was not.
Did he beckon your mother as well?
That I don't know.
So I wonder what would have happened if you had gone to him.
That is the big what if question. I think about it all the time. I have dreams about that house. I always like start picking and want to go back and be like, what did I see? And what would have happened if I walked down that hall? I don't know.
What made you eat bugs?
Oh God, that was the worst thing I ever had to do. We were participating in a crowdfunding campaign, and we thought that it would help us get more money if we had sort of bet or did something outlandish, like, you know, hey, if we get to this goal, one of us will humiliate ourselves or do something that we have an aversion to. And I am absolutely terrified of bugs. And I don't think I realized how horrible it would be. Like, I thought doing it like this, I'd be like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, I'll get over myself and I won't think about it. But no, it was awful, and it was big, and it still looked and felt like the cricket that it was. And oh,
we thank you so much for being our first guest.
Yeah, this was fun.
Been a great honor, and I hope we did okay for you.